Hey guys, I have a question. If you could take something that would help your memory, improve your focus, and just overall make you feel kind of amazing, would you try it? Well, our sponsor, Neurohacker, combines 28 of the most research-backed nootropic ingredients on Earth into the ultimate brain fuel formula, Qualia Mind. And it's been changing people's lives for years now. See what the best brain fuel formula on earth can do for your mindset. Go to neurohacker.com/reps for up to $100 off Qualia Mind. And as a listener of Between the Reps, use code REPS at checkout for an additional 15% off any purchase. That's neurohacker.com/reps and use code REPS for an additional 15% off to experience life-changing mental performance from Qualia Mind.
Oh, man.
I don't know that
To all of our listeners, if you are listening to me and you're like, why is Brooke out of breath? I don't know. Okay. I just have been out of breath like all day.
Dude, maybe you're coming down whatever this shit that I've had for 3 weeks is.
I don't know. But what I do know, I don't know a lot. But what I do know,
better. I don't know what the fuck to do. Okay.
It's fine. What I do know is
Tales from the Crypt.
I know. When I first got on, before you got on, I'm looking at my background. I'm like, dude, how good would it be if there was someone super creepy?
I know, just like coming out that back door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait.
Or like you can see him coming at me.
I'd be like,
oh my gosh, turn around.
When I'm such a panicker, I just be like this, like just frozen, not even helping.
You'd think they were going to just not get me. They would just come through the computer to get you.
Well, dude, have you like seen any of this shit on Instagram? I was talking to Daniel about this and he was like, no, that's not real. And I was like, dude, have you seen like where the Teslas drive through the cemetery?
No.
Oh my God. So I've seen like multiple ones. And of course it like just came up on my feed and I was like, what? And so now I just keep getting them. And it was like, it's like people will drive with a Tesla and, it'll show the vision of like their car, right? And then it will show people walking. And
yeah. Cause like when I've been in one where you're driving.
Yeah.
I don't like them, to be honest.
Yeah. They're kind of creepy.
They're super creepy. And I don't feel the fact that anybody feels like a computer could make better choices like while driving in potential risky situations.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? But like on the big stupid screen, it has your car and you're like driving on the road and it's almost like all in like not cartoon, but like drawn. It's not like
that's what I'm saying. It's picture. Like just like you see the car.
You see the other cars passing you.
Yeah.
On the screen.
Well, in this, they go through the cemetery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that like the person will be like in the car and like filming around and there's nobody there, right? And then you'll just see like all of a sudden someone will just blip on the screen and just like start walking. And you're like, what the fuck? And then like you see the guy like, no. And then like all of a sudden like pan over and they'll like show like outside of the car and there's still no one there. And then like somebody else walking. And I'm like, is this like a Tesla game of like just trying to like freak people out? Right?
No, man.
Like it knows it's in a cemetery, or is it really picking ghosts up? And you know me with ghosts. So like, I believe in them, but
it's because they're true.
Because they're true.
It's because they're real.
Because they're true. Ghosts are true, man.
They're the truest.
They're the truest thing I know.
Freak man, that's crazy. So, I love that Daniel's like, that's not real. And it's like,
I don't know.
For all the things that,
honestly, I can see like Tesla fucking with people too, right? Like knowing, like it's a computer, so it probably knows it's in a cemetery. So it's like, ha 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 ha.
But at a certain point, if it was a joke, don't you think that they would probably come out and say it?
Yeah, maybe.
Joke's on you guys.
It's like
Thanks for doing the update.
No, but there was I was laughing because we were in San Francisco, like, I don't know, like last month or something. And now they have all those like self-driving cars, like Ubers. And I was laughing so hard.
Am I getting in one
No
of those.
way would I get in one either. But it was so funny because like you saw this dude and like the lights on in the car, right? It's like nighttime. So it's like really obvious. And I could see him. He's like sitting in the back seat by himself. No one's driving. And it pulls up to like a stoplight and then it's going. And he's literally like that, like looking right and left, like so stressed out.
Yeah,
like,
dude. Just walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like just call a human.
Call a human. Yeah, man.
Here's what I'd like to know. You know, let's just take it back a few years. Back to when AI was first being sort of introduced into society. You know, what I
think like a normal thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What I think of is when you got to call an airline or hell, Walgreens pharmacy. Okay. Right. And you call and it's a freaking automated message. And all you have, you end up yelling at the phone, speak to a representative, speak to a representative.
I always go, customer service.
And at some point people were like, yeah, this is great. Let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm not into it. Have you seen, I know like Danae Mercer that we had on the podcast.
Oh yeah. I've been watching.
Have you seen her shit that she's like posting and it's showing all of the women that are completely fake AI women in like, you know, scantily clad outfits, you know, doing stuff. And it's like, oh my God, like this. And what she was saying is 100% true. It's like, now I'm even more concerned for my daughter growing up because now we have these AI women who are like this, you know, they're like, oh, what do men like? You know, big tits, small waist, big booty, you know, perfect skin,
0 cellulite.
And it's like, yeah, guess what? They're not fucking real, dude.
No. And you know what? Did you hear about I cannot. Did I hit something or was my dog? I cannot
or was it my dog?
Well, it's like I have headphones in, but I
know. Hear something. Or did I hit my dog?
I hit my dog.
I hit my dog.
I'm so close to throwing my phone away.
Yeah.
And never opening an email ever again. Because scams. I mean,
oh yeah.
I can't keep up with them. Like, Jeanna, 6 years ago, you know, you were having scams on Craigslist. Okay. Right. You're having other scams too. Like my dad's had his identity stolen. I mean, I've had purchases on my cards that are in like,
me too,
like
Amazon,
Mumbai. Right. And so there's all that shit, but then there's constantly like how many times a week you get an email that's from
UPS.
There's been a data leak. You might want to change your password on everything that you have, and everything is automated and everything is technological. Everyone can get your shit. Everything is, and it's just like the new scam that had come out. And I've seen a lot of information and people that are actually in the industry of AI on the side of it that is actually worried about it continuing to move forward. That are working, or their focus is working in like, how can we need to pump the brakes and stop. And there needs to be a lot of things that need to be figured out, how it's implemented, all the things in relation to humans. And there was a woman who got a phone call from her daughter, and it was like,
I saw that.
But that's like what freaks me out, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I've seen like actors talking about it. Like they just finished the strike that SAG was having.
Yeah, because they can reproduce your voice. Yeah. And like, that was like a kidnapping scheme or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine getting a call like that.
I had a message on my voicemail because I will not answer the phone if I don't know the number.
Yeah, me neither.
And like on rare occasion, I will. Rarely. But most times I will not. Like just if you need to get in touch with me, you'll send me a text or you
Yeah.
will send me an email or something like that. But it was a voicemail, and all it said in the voicemail was I think it was this one. There's basically a scam that if they call, like if you get a phone call and you answer it, and they said all it says is they ask you a question of like, can you hear me?
Right.
And if you reply, apparently all just by saying yes, a lot of bad shit could potentially happen to you.
Right.
Stuff.
I
And
know.
it's like
I know.
I can't keep up with it.
I know.
So I'm at a point where I'm like, I just want to be done. You know, I guess I had a good run with business stuff, and now I'm just gonna
hide at the ranch,
grow my own food, and try and learn some skills that would be really good for.
You're like, I'm totally prepping for the apocalypse.
Even just to always be able to get a job. You know, maybe I'll become a handy man. Actually, what am I doing? I'm making.
Yeah, see. Hey, Andy, man. Hey, I had this.
Remember Brooke?
I had this. I
remember that name.
I had this code come up on my washer, and I called to get it fixed. And guess what? Brooke showed up.
All right, I'm here. Skip over the questions. Just do a Reddit search on me. I'm sure there's something. How my life fell apart.
As I'm laughing.
That's how we get through the truth.
That's not your life falling apart.
No, I'm saying that, if things were, there's definitely plenty of people that their jobs out there, they forget that, how we create a positive future is by being positive. So it's just
so you know what's funny? So like I never watch cartoons. I don't like cartoons. And Daniel made me watch the new South Park. Have you watched it? You should watch it.
Is it funny?
Well, yeah, because it really makes fun of like the fact that all of our youth growing up, they don't have their my older kids that are like in their 30s are all like in a trade business, but like the trades are going right. And at some point it's like, who am I going to go to like have my dress altered?
Yep.
Like there's nobody in their 20s that's like, you know what, I want to be a seamstress.
Yep.
Like there's all these jobs that are like going away. And so in South Park, it kind of makes fun of it. It's like, I'll give you 3, sessions for, to fix my dryer, or, you know what I mean? It's like everything, I'll fix your computer because there's just like basic things that our parents grew up doing. And I used to say all the time, like, my mom was the seamstress.
My mom's sewing too. So
it died with me.
It died with me.
Like I can fix a button, I can hem something, but like beyond that, like it just looks bad,
I haven't really done a lot of machine work. I got a lot of my sewing growing up because I had to sew my point shoes. Every new pair of point shoes I got, you had to sew your own ribbons on.
Right.
And your straps. And
stuff. Like I know like how to like tie a knot, but like, it's like there's this younger generation that literally can't sew a button.
It's true.
Yeah. It's true.
And they're all, what's funny too is like, I know this is extreme. I'm going to say an extreme.
Oh, good.
It's not
controversial.
Oh, it's not even controversial. It's more so just like that. I know that there's probably more people than how it's going to, or less people than how it's going to sound. I was just going to say that the number, I feel pretty confident in saying that probably a good majority of the younger generations, if you were to raise any of these like real kind of issues they're going to we're running into to them, they would probably either first think that it's not a big deal, definitely think that it's not their responsibility.
Right.
And also
AI is going to take care of it.
And probably also just be like, whatever, my life is fantastic and people love me and I'm really not going to worry about it because I'm sure if I ever needed anybody, all these people that follow me, someone knows how to do it.
This many followers, someone's going to show up.
Someone else knows how to do it. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Like there's a lot of things I don't know how to do because as I was growing up and I was so busy all the time, you don't learn how to do them. And now
But
it's like all I'm thinking is like, all right, I got to learn everything I can from my mother before she doesn't want to teach me.
I know.
We should start a company where we can start like collecting all the grandmas, like the good ones. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we actually, I don't know if I've seen a thing like this or maybe I even posted it. I saw something that was a joke about it, like OnlyFans, and call it like Only Grands.
Only Grands?
Yeah. And you go there to learn all of the like things that you're supposed to learn from like your grandmother.
Like, this
like
is
all
how
this
we churn butter, kids.
Yes, all this information that is being lost because people, for generations, we thought all of it was stupid and only poor people did it or practiced it or did their job, not ours. And now look at us.
I know.
Fuck.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that all those things that we're talking about is going to be taken over by like machines. It's going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be fucking iRobot.
Hey guys, I have a question. If you could take something that would help your memory, improve your focus, and just overall make you feel kind of amazing, would you try it? Well, our sponsor, Neurohacker, combines 28 of the most research-backed nootropic ingredients on Earth into the ultimate brain fuel formula, Qualia Mind. And it's been changing people's lives for years now. The formula is non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, and the ingredients are meant to complement one another, factoring in each ingredient's effect on supporting mental clarity. It's also backed by a 100-day money-back guarantee, so you have almost 3 months to try Qualia Mind at no financial risk and decide for yourself. Since I've been taking Qualia Mind, I've been able to focus for longer periods of time. I'm motivated and disciplined to get things done, and my mind just feels more clear. See what the best brain fuel formula on earth can do for your mindset. Go to neurohacker.com/reps for up to $100 off Qualia Mind. And as a listener of Between the Reps, use code REPS at checkout for an additional 15% off any purchase. That's neurohacker.com/reps and use code REPS for an additional 15% off to experience life-changing mental performance from Qualia Mind.
The issue is the same issue that we see with vehicles. My dad talks about it. You take a vehicle, you look at like, or we can even look at like even washing machines, okay? Like appliances, how they used to be built, they were built to last.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, the people at the top realized that they needed us to keep working so we could keep consuming and keep buying. So everything falls apart at a certain time. You yourself can't fix it. My dad talks about like vehicles, everything's electronic. You can't just fix something. So skills that you acquired growing up of how to work on your own vehicles, you can't do it.
Right.
You have to go to the dealership.
Right.
It's making, and what's scary is like a lot of those things are things that they're not glamorous, right? Like it's work and can be exhausting and tiring. Like, let's say just a mechanic or someone who, let's say my dad, like working on all of his tractors or whatever.
Right.
Well, like new equipment that comes in and it's all technical and has a computer system in it. The skills you have no longer work.
Right.
You can't use them. So now you need more money.
Right.
Because now you have to pay more money to do something that you used to be able to do.
You need like more machines.
And it's like, and we're not making more money, but we have to keep spending more money to do the same job we've been doing. And somehow there's still no more money coming into our pocket. It's like,
okay, but I will say this.
Literally feels like a really, really shitty roller coaster ride.
It is a roller coaster. Okay. But then there's like the convenience, right? It's like, I just got a new car. I finally got rid of my old car and I got this new car and it has, the CarPlay. It's got, all this stuff that is so fucking convenient.
No, it's super convenient. Now, the issue though, is when it's not, but when it doesn't work, what do you do?
Right. Like, yeah, you can't fix
You know
it.
what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
that's what it's more about is like
I will say
almost
this.
to almost in a way have the ability to completely
Well, there's no
like
such thing as
completely
self-sufficiency
change.
anymore.
Well, no, and but that's the thing that is scary. Like for people to find so much, to be able to be so comfortable that their concerns, they don't have any concern about the reality of the situation, which is the ability to be self-sufficient is getting smaller. Like you're there soon, it's like impossible. And depending on where you live, it's
Right.
really impossible.
Right.
And it's like, but that's what they want. It's like if we are self-sufficient, we don't need them. We shouldn't need them.
Right.
Like we should be able to handle, you know, community in our area and like have people that deal with those people and like let's get along and let's make sure we're feeding people and you can take care of your family. And it's like, but when you the powers that be are making that as if it's going to be a pastime, that it's something that people will be like, remember when we didn't used to spend all day just sitting at home and looking at our screens and waiting for, I don't know, our groceries to arrive because we're not allowed to grocery shop or because there's no such thing as grocery stores anymore. And now it all just comes in from Amazon.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I know.
But like, and I'm saying it and it sounds ridiculous, but it's like,
no, I know. And everyone's like, you're crazy.
But to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And if you're listening and you're like, Brooke, you've lost your mind. I am okay with you thinking that, but I know that that's not true. I just care about things that a lot of people would rather not care about. And the reason I care about them is because I care about people so deeply.
Well, I don't think that people don't care about it. I think that we're just all just like mindlessly kind of like going.
Well, but how would you say that that's not, I mean, that is not caring.
I mean,
I think my mom does this.
But I think
a natural reaction to something that is uncomfortable and not happy at all. And it's kind of like a dark reality. People's natural reaction, mine included, but I don't, because I feel like more people need to have the conversation going, or no one talks about it at all. And when it makes you uncomfortable, what do? We don't want to know about it. My mom says, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I want to live in my own world. And I get that. But that is not how you protect your family. That's not how you protect your neighbor. That is not how you maintain a community. That is not how you get anything done.
No,
that's where the problem is.
I am not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying is that like saying like not caring, I think there's just like you said, it's like, I think there's a huge group of people that haven't like considered the idea of that. So they're just kind of going like, this is all that's in front of me. So it's not an idea of not caring, because I think when you say like not caring,
but it's the truth though. Because I mean, really, and it's like,
but it's not their truth,
but it's the truth. There's a difference between like, it can be what is my truth, but the reality of even what is my truth, if I were to lay out, like, I don't even know, like all the issues I have currently. Fuck.
Like, let me lay them on the
table. A truth for me is I know why I'm feeling a certain way. And there's moments where I have to remind myself not to let those things be an excuse, because even though I care about it, am I doing anything about it?
But I think by comparing yourself to everybody else, like it just depends on like what you've been exposed to.
I just think
there's an exposure issue.
We're at a point in time where there's no excuse. I think that's why it is for me. We're at a point in time where it's either you. I think that more people, if not all, need to decide to either help or accept the fact that they're part of the problem. And it doesn't mean you have to go on your platform or start a podcast or whatever, but it does mean to not live in a comfortable place where it's somewhat kind of like denial, because what's happening around you is so uncomfortable to accept or even be willing to like dig into or read about or learn anything about.
I'm not disagreeing with you, what you're saying.
I mean,
because of like, I know, but what I'm saying is like, I don't think that I think it's a generational thing. And I think that there are only certain, I mean, if you think about it, like I'm talking about like younger generation people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about like, mine, yours. And when I say generation, it's probably not even generation. It's like, every, whoever's been born within like 10 years of each other, like a decade thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a different idea of what's actually happening in the world. And we have social media to thank for that, because we all have an algorithm, right? Your algorithm is completely different than mine. It's completely different. Mine is completely different from, say, my 23-year-old versus
mine changed entirely when I moved out of California.
But
when I moved home.
Well, I mean, your algorithm is going to be based off of whatever you're looking at. I mean, that's what it is.
But like, even for me, the stuff that I look at that I've always looked at is like on my explore page. It's never because I'm like searching for something.
So your Explorer page is literally catered to you.
Oh yeah, no, I know that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, a 20-year-old who isn't looking at things that you're looking at isn't getting information that you're getting.
No, that's true.
And
this isn't something that is going to be solved by 20-something-year-olds, because the kids that are in their 20s right now are very different from when I was in my 20s, and we're all very different from when my dad was in his 20s. 100%. Like, just the ability to be an adult and take responsibility has over the years just decreased.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The whole conversation, or the whole statement of weak men create hard times create strong, tough men create easy times create weak men, and this is a cycle. But this is why, like, all things aside, I mean, I can empathize with literally anything. And all things aside, I think that we're in a situation. One, already people don't think that they should ever be offended. So that makes it very difficult to have any sort of real conversation, because your personal feelings and your emotional response to something doesn't make it true. And we've talked about this. We've talked about it in sense of like internal thoughts or self-esteem. It's the exact same.
Right.
The conversation has been, just because you have an emotional response to something, you have the right to feel that way. Something has caused you to feel a certain kind of way, whatever it is. But at the end of that, you felt that way. Whatever it was that caused you to feel that way, it's not their responsibility or that responsibility. And however you listened to something or whatever it was, and you were triggered, or maybe from like past trauma, which everyone has trauma. So everyone, if you're one of those people that think like, well, I have trauma, everyone has fucking trauma.
Right.
I mean, if that isn't in and of itself a reason to be a little bit kinder to other people that are different from you, or give them, not even that, give them the benefit of the doubt. That's probably the better way to say it. Like, give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But everybody has trauma. And we're at a point where, for me, it's like, I don't have teens, my siblings do, right? I'm not a parent, I'm an aunt. So I do my best to just be focusing on being a good example and being there for the kids, especially for like the ones that don't have, two good parents and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think if your kids or your teens or your kids in their 20s don't find any issues, or believe that everything is just peachy, and, continue to pursue their career as a YouTuber, because that's what everyone's doing, or whatever new platform is popping up, there's always something new. Then I believe that it is the parent's job. I mean, and that is, I mean, obviously it's to each their own, like, and you're going to do what you want. Everyone's going to do what they want or what they feel like is the best thing at that time. And that's all you can do. And everybody's different, and everyone's going through something different. So all you can do is the best you can, or the best that you know how. But it still all comes back to, if we ignore it, or you see something or hear something, like Daniel saw the thing about Tesla. Is it important if we know if this is a real or fake thing? No. but it's interesting.
Right.
And with all the things going on, it's very interesting. Okay. So it's like,
well, it's more like it's just fun.
But to me, it's like, that's interesting. One is technology. There's all kinds of weird shit going on. Stuff that people definitely wouldn't know about. Like things that they're doing that I would have thought that it was like super recent, but apparently it's like, they've been doing certain weird shit for like 30 years, right? It's we're just finding out about certain things, but it's like, oh my God, this is real. Is this real? And it's like, there's articles years and years and years back. They've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
With like cloning and all kinds of weird fucking shit. But it's like, there's this stuff that is real, and to live in a way where we would rather, and again, I understand it because being uncomfortable is not enjoyable. It sucks, but to ignore something kind of just in hopes, I think a lot of people probably do that in a way that it's like that in their mind is they're controlling what they can control, but without being willing to consider other things that you may see or hear as potentially being real, you could really be doing yourself and your family a disservice, because if something did turn out to be real and you just thought the whole time, you're really screwing the pooch.
I agree with that, but I also think that it's really, you have to be careful, right? Because anything that you're being inundated with this information, and you know me, I'm the skeptic.
You are a skeptic.
So every single thing I watch, I go, I don't know if that's true. And so, and that's not me like putting my head in the sand. That's not me. That's just me wanting to have critical thinking with everything that is given to me.
Yes, but critical thinking comes with considering possibility.
For sure. I consider everything, but I don't necessarily know. And I don't necessarily trust every single avenue that it's being given to me from.
And you shouldn't. But I think if we're in the conversation about kids that are in their 20s that don't see that stuff and algorithms, it still comes down to a bit of an excuse. Now, I think that there are situations where I just think that at this point in time, there's no way that people aren't seeing things or hearing things. And I think that we are all, and I'm guilty of it 100%.
So I don't agree with you with that.
Responding in a way that is just to what we believe because we have an emotional response to it. You see all these videos of these college kids that, lash out or do all these things and have a bunch of stuff to say, or through campaigning where people in the audience ask questions and the person on stage really gives them a lesson. But the heat they brought, the question they brought, the words they used, they knew they were wrong and they were right. And that is what I'm talking about.
And I agree with that.
That's all it comes down to. It's more so like, I'm just not okay with there being something being a good enough reason to like have it be like, okay, if you're basically playing dumb. It's a similar conversation to like when I was competing. And there's certain people, it's a type of person. So that's why I say certain people. It's not multiple people.
Okay.
But that you could perceive through their interactions of how they, answered questions or did interviews, or how they treated people, how they treated fans, how they treated businesses that, maybe interested or whatever. And there was always this excuse that was used, and it drove me nuts. And it was like, oh, they're young. And to me, I'm like, you're in your 20s.
Right.
Like, yes, you're young, but we learn especially we learn socializing skills in a very young age. And then you grow up, and if you're in your 20s and you are cold or you are mean, I'm not okay with collectively in like a group of people in the industry having
using your age
using it and being like, yeah, but they're young. And it's like, no, that's not how you teach people how to be a good human or how to act as an adult.
I agree with you. What
I'm making is like, that's what I'm not okay with, is like it being this sort of, it gets to be an easy excuse. It doesn't necessarily seem like an excuse, but a lot of people can very easily grab onto it, and they grab onto it. It could be in conversation. And I've had this with people in family where the immediate reaction is like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know because I don't want to know. I know it's all messed up. I don't want to know. And it's like,
all I'm saying
you should know a little. You don't need to know all of it, but you should just know a little to be like, actually, I heard something about it. I don't know much about it, but to like be able to say like to just be like aware, you know?
I agree with you.
Aware.
I agree with what you're saying, but all I'm saying is that I think that there are a lot of young people that are getting because you're at the age group that you did not grow up getting all of your knowledge from this one platform. And I'm just saying that I think that depending on people's algorithm, there are like very young people that are just getting their knowledge from that platform.
Oh, 100%. But I'm not even talking about social media. I'm just talking
But that's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you have to also remember that there's like a ton of families that aren't close to their parents. They're not going to get all their knowledge from parents. They're not going to get, there's so many, it's so, nuanced in a way of, it's not just black and white. So I do think that there are kids, and it's interesting because we're like talking about it, and Ruby has like this boyfriend who, he's such like you would love him actually. He's such a, he works on his truck every day and, all this stuff. So I just want to make sure to like, not be like, oh, everybody in this like age group is an idiot and just like on Instagram and
that's why I started the whole statement by saying it's probably a lot less than what I'm going to make it sound like. But if you think globally,
yes,
a lot, like could feel pretty good about saying a big majority, because if we're talking globally, but I'm not even talking just about social media. I'm just talking about how, we have.
Yeah, but I am talking social media because I think that is one of the hugest ways that kids are getting their what's happening in the world.
No, that's 100% true. But I just am not thinking about solely Instagram, just because there's so many places to get information nowadays. But I'm thinking more along the lines of like the kids that you see that and like, I'm not even saying kids. I'm talking about people. Like I say younger generation because they are, honestly, they have experienced in terms, this is probably, you may not agree because you've seen more systems than I have. But man, did they really get the short end of the stick when it came to just fucking knowledge, like schooling, it's sad and it's upsetting for me, even like college. And you just a lot of different things. Like we talk about critical thinking, which we talked about it a long time ago. It's like they don't have, that's not even a skill anymore. It's like not a thing you do. Like even with my nieces and nephews are in elementary school and middle school.
Right.
Like there's the way they teach certain things. It's like it forces the kid to not have to think on their own. They have to get it from the teacher. It's like it's teaching them that like that person tells me how to do it. That person. It's like you lose this ability, or really not the ability. You lose the opportunity to become creative or to like become a critical thinker and learn how to like problem solver and like, all the things that,
or to even just come up with your own idea.
Exactly. Like be original and have an imagination.
That makes sense when you're like really young, right? Because like everything that everybody thinks, that happened when you were a kid. That happened when I was a kid. It was like, I just want to be with everybody else.
But we didn't grow up.
But we didn't grow up with all this outside shit coming in.
We grew up with none of that. You grew up with less of it than I did. And I still had issues, right? It's like you still had issues. Like I didn't have any of that growing up in middle school, elementary school, didn't have Instagram. And you still deal with it. I mean, all kinds of shit. It was magazines back then. Now it's even easier accessible.
Right.
It's like now they can, people, they take your face and put it on different things and parade it around on social media. And then it goes out. I mean, it's so much more extreme and definitely harder I would assume, and I'm not just assuming because I don't have kids of my own, but I do have a lot of them here in the family. And it would be really, really difficult to be able to grow up into just like a solid.
It's like a virtual society.
A solid adult when the society, the way it functions now, it's not for us, it's for them.
Yeah.
And what is it for them? It's everything's automated. You don't have to have an imagination. They've got games. Oh, now you don't even have to have an imagination for things sexually. They've got games. I mean, there's just so much that I think that the only and again, I'm not a parent, I know, but I am an aunt. The only solution I see,
all the parents out there are like, still it's not the same.
The only solution I even see is for parents to spend more time with their kids. I mean, like, I don't know what else would be like an easy thing you could do today other than spend more time with your kids and having them and put the tablets away and force them to get outside or to
I agree with you, but it's like, it's really hard, right? So it's like, there's this, like the difference between, say, my older kids who are like in their 30s, they're like close to your age.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Ruby, 10 years later, my older kids, they don't even go on Instagram. Like you never see them post anything. They could give a shit.
Yeah. Cause it wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
And then when it became cool, it's like,
right. Ruby honestly doesn't post that much, but like she definitely was like introduced into like that world, probably like 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my kids were like in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like past that like point of like really giving a shit. I worry about like my granddaughter, right?
Oh, dude.
And Joey was even saying, Joey was like,
I'm not a grandma, but like all this fire in me that lives there every single day, it really is because of that.
Right.
It's because of, I look at the little kids and I'm just like, fuck, man.
Right. But it's
I'm going to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm definitely not going to not do anything. It's like, for me in my position in family, it's like, I'm the youngest. I'm not married. I live at home. I'm doing a lot of different things business-wise, but now it's like, I will do whatever I can do to help all my siblings out and their kids, because that is like a position I'm in is like, well, I'm single and.
But then there's this whole other thing that like that probably you haven't thought of, is like, I'm watching Michaela raise her son who's 12 now.
Gosh,
and they were like
so
big on like, yeah, totally. But like big on like, not like they have like a specific screen time. Like you can have this. And like, the cool thing is that now there are certain things that you can put on your kids' phones. That's like, you only get this amount of screen time. You can block them. Like when Ruby was a kid, there weren't these avenues of like blocking them from like social media and like doing all this stuff. Right. So they have all these avenues. Well, then what happened is that she's like, he went to this like this school that was like very like, nature and like, all this stuff. And it kind of even came later for him. But now that he's getting older, it's interesting that all the kids socially only do things on these certain platforms, right? So if your kid isn't on it, now they're ostracized from being invited to things and doing things. So she was like, now what the fuck do I do? Like, I've been, I'm trying to be this like really involved parent. I'm limiting this and limiting that, and I won't let him get at social media, but now he's actually being ostracized from all this group. So it's kind of like one of those things where like, as a parent, you're like,
what do?
You start to kind of go, okay, I mean, you can do that for,
Mhm.
you know, an hour a day. You can do this for, and it's so hard because when they're younger, or like when you don't have kids, you're like, oh, I'll never let them do this and this and this. And then you start seeing your kid not being included in things, not being invited to things. And that is like heartbreaking
Oh yeah.
for someone. So then you kind of like cave a little because you're like, well, and I remember doing this with the kids because the older kids, I didn't want them to have phones. And I was like that crazy person who, my older kids, when they got phones, they had to hang up their phones in the laundry room at 10 o'clock on weeknights.
Yeah, well, it's the best thing you could have done. And now it's
right?
like, I understand even in terms
But
of
it's
just
like, but that is so much fucking work. And I wouldn't take it back. And, you know, we talk about it and they talk about
Well, and
how crazy I was
but that's
compared
also,
to other parents.
I think that's
But it
also
has to
what
be
the
like a
problem is
collective
now.
thing
I think a
where
big
everyone's
issue,
doing it.
I think a big issue though, Jeanna, is, and this is obviously like way above my pay grade to try and like really fine tune this thought. So
Right. Like, how do we,
at a certain point, I think a big issue is like, I think about like my mom, right?
Mhm.
Or like how maybe your parents were, you, very involved, you know, like the way you should
but
be.
it's the uninvolved that fuck it up for the involved.
But that's what I'm talking about, is like we're living in a time that I don't think, well, I don't believe, and many people don't, that we've ever seen before. And there's a lot of uncharted territory, all the AI stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot of really scary things that it's really easy to look at those things and just be like a don't worry, be happy, and like have that mindset that it's like, you know, it's all fine, like you blah blah blah. But I just really feel like that's not the smartest way to look at it. Like you don't have to immediately be like, oh, believe everything you hear. But
No.
what I'm asking is that more people are, not that you believe something so easily, but that you're willing to consider the possibility, because we all have our own beliefs, we have our own emotional responses to things, and that's, you know, however old you are, it's like that is a result of all the things you've been through.
Right.
And that's reality, you know. And I think that's also why it is important to try and work through the things you've been through, because they can continue to subconsciously ruin your life. Right? But it's the truth.
We're all subconsciously ruining our lives.
Like I look at like my nieces and nephews and other kids too, because you go anywhere, you can just observe
Right.
people, right?
Right.
And all the studies that are coming out about screens for kids is really bad.
I know.
It is so bad, Jeanna.
I
It
know.
is so bad for brain health development. I mean, it's really, really scary. And so
We're just making a bunch of dummies.
yeah. And then here's my final point. There's a generation, which I think it's mine too, you know, not me because I don't have kids, but it's like my generation, even up to my siblings, because it depends on what age you are. My siblings are in their 40s. I'm 34. My other sister's 36. And screens and social media and all these things that give you instant gratification, dopamine hits, like all the things, right? Boredom, passing time, whatever. Maybe you're obsessive about podcasts and you just have to listen. You just have to listen. Like whatever it is, that it's not only bad for, it's really bad for kids, but as an adult, it's like it's fucking with you. And now you have adults that like when we're tired or exhausted, like it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. But like you don't want to scroll. You don't want to do a lot, and we scroll. And I think that like I think what is important is for parents or aunts or uncles or whatever who you are, like, in terms of if you care about our younger generations and trying to turn something around.
Yeah,
it's first paying attention to like yourself. Like it's me checking myself of like how often am I on my phone? And I have really I mean, I'm on my phone a decent amount. All my work is on there, but I actually spend way less time on my phone.
Mhm.
And I spent way more time, like, posting stories and stuff on Instagram when I was in Thailand. Well, that was because I was there for a month by myself, and I spent every waking moment.
You were there
by
for
myself.
2 months.
Yes, but by myself 1 month.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay.
And but it's start there. It's like, none of us want to be offended. It doesn't feel good to feel bad. It sucks really bad to have light shined on our flaws or things that we could do better, or our toxic traits, or whatever it is, whether it's in a relationship, a romantic one, or it's in work, or it's friends, or your teacher, or whatever it is. No one wants to be wrong. It does not feel good to be wrong. It does not feel good to know you hurt someone's feelings, or that you really did something bad, right? Or maybe like you were busy and you were late picking up your kids from school, and turns out you're late every day. Like, not a big deal. But if you really think about what that does, like what kind of thoughts might be going through your kid's mind every time their parents late. I mean, what I know from personal experience, and like, because I've had quite the, ups and downs like anybody, but it's the little things, it's those little details. And I'm always reminding my sister about it. It's like, you just have to, if it matters to you, like if your kids matter, or your grandkids, or your nieces and nephews, then to start practicing being more self-aware throughout your day, to recognize, like, check yourself when you're just like, I'm so sucked in, and like time's just going by, and like,
well, yeah, because those kids are looking at it. I mean, even Finley, she's not even 8 months old yet, but Joey was like, I was, because he's like such a researcher. So he's like, I just realized, like, I can't scroll my phone in front of her. And she's an infant, right? But it's so true. Like, I didn't have infants while on my phone. So it's like foreign to me.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like,
so the way
you parented is way more hands-on.
It's just different.
Yes.
Right. It's just different. And like, there was nothing to just like numb out on like that.
No, you were in it. You were hiding in the closet. You were in it constantly. And like, I almost feel like part of the reason younger parents don't want that is because it's uncomfortable. It's hard.
It is hard.
It's like, I mean, as you get older, if you're younger and you're listening to this, which you probably aren't, but there's always the phenomenon. And I remember when I went through it, and now I always talk to my nieces about it, and my nephews, because they fight with each other, brothers. It's like, you do grow up. I remember having this conversation with Ruby, when she was like 13, and she was going through a real upset stage. And I remember like trying to explain to her, it's like, you're going to be a little bit older, and one day you're going to realize, like, all these things that your mom told you were true.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm telling you this, and I know that you don't want to hear it. And I'm like, and I wish that, I'm like, I don't even know if anyone truly will listen to that. Right. Like, before.
Yeah. No, not during.
It's like, and maybe that's just part of it. I mean, our life is meant to be, we're meant to learn and to grow and to evolve. We're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to be good and help.
Well, hopefully and you're teach, growing.
Right. Well, yes. But like, my point is, like, that is what if we're going to do anything with our time here, can't take any of the shit with you. Right. Can't take any of it with you. Well, can you? So what can you do? It's for me, it's like, I just want to be able to help people to where, when I'm gone, the thought of, when you think of like my name, is like a good person that I could count on, or you could call her for anything, or whatever it is. Right.
Right.
She might take a few days to answer your call, but
yeah, don't call her.
She will eventually roll.
But just know around. She wants to call you back.
But it's like dude, parenting is hard. I'm not a parent, but I'm around it, and my family is very, very close. If you guys are listening and you don't already know it, we're very close, and we're involved and helpful. Like, my sisters, dude, it truly is, minus my brother. It truly is like the beauty of a close-knit family, whether yours is from your parents and your siblings, or it's like your closest friends, because you all kind of are like, you created a family. when you moved away or whatever it is in your area. It's like that
the
is
idea of like, it takes a village.
Yes.
Takes the village.
You know, but like, I think about it, it's like, you know, being a good parent, I don't know anything about it, but from what I do understand and I've seen and what my siblings have told my whole family's told me forever.
Yeah.
So funny. It's like, I'm single and now I want a baby. 34 single. One's on the way.
Shut up.
I'll be right. I'll get right to it. It really, you know, everyone always says, like you say, it's like, it's the most gratifying thing ever.
It is.
It's like, what I'm understanding is like to do it and do it well. And I think that I never really thought about this because I haven't had to, right? I haven't really, it's not been a thought that I've had. But being a mom, like being parents, being mom and dad is like, it really is a job that I feel like society, in a way, like culturally, where we are currently today, because not everybody is this way.
Right.
I feel like this, like, it's the same way living in a rural area became something that was something that you didn't want, in a way, either through entertainment, media, through different things. It's like you got people to move off of land and they moved into cities, right? And we've gotten people so far away from where our food comes from and what you actually do to have it, and how anyone could do it on their own, because that's what we did, right? That's how people did it. Like, but like being a parent, being a mom and a dad is like, that's why there's so many fucking people here, because people keep procreating. And to really have this like mindset where it's not that you don't want to be a bad parent,
right?
But to never really even have the thought of like wanting to be a good one, like to have that conversation, because it's almost like something that no one talks about, because we don't even talk about it. Everyone knows.
No, that's the problem. Hi guys. Sorry, Marcus and Kristen just came in. Hi.
Are they dating? Oh my Lord.
But that is the thing, right? Is that so many people decide to be parents without actually understanding that it's like a really big job.
Well, and I think they're
like, oh, I just want to get married and have kids. And
I'm even thinking,
oh, well, shit, you got to fucking raise them.
Well, it's like, I'm even thinking it from the perspective of like, because like, definitely we know that, you know, there's people out there just thinking that, never mind, we won't even go.
You can turn the lights on.
But it's more so that somewhere along the way, I don't know when, but being a parent wasn't cool, in a way. Like, you don't talk about it.
Right.
You know, it's not something that is like praised, but it should be.
Yes.
Like when you have like a good mom, like a grandma, someone that like everyone loved in your community, whatever it is, people praise that woman. My grandpa, like he died when I was 2, and all I hear all the time is all these stories from people that aren't family,
right?
Talk about him.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he was someone who he took care of. He took care of all the youth. He took boys on all the football camp trips. He paid for them to go. All the kids that had no money and didn't have the family that could ever send them, he did that. It's like, that is a man. And that is someone who's a leader. That's someone who's a doer. That's someone who is a protector, who cares about his community and, you know, all these things. But like, I don't get out much, but I don't see people like that anymore in our younger generation. And it's like, the only way you have that is because it has to be learned. And the only way it's going to be learned is if it's taught. And so at a certain point, it wasn't cool anymore. It's cool to have a Tesla. It's cool to have a computer. It's cool to play games. It's cool to have, you know, play Sims. It's cool to be in the metaverse, whatever it's called.
Hold on. Did you say play Sims?
Yeah. Because that's the OG AI.
That's some old shit. That's some old fucking shit. Play Sims.
Hey, I didn't say the Oregon Trail. Way better game. In fact, if kids were playing the Oregon Trail today, they'd probably be pretty ahead. You know?
You're stupid. Oh my God. Okay.
Yes. So I guess the moral of what I'm, talking about, or if I were to try and give anyone listening, if they're like, well, what would you say I do, Brooke? I'd say start practicing being more self-aware, be more willing to consider that someone else's viewpoint has some validity to it, because that way you can at least find some common ground. You don't have to agree, but to immediately deny what they're saying because your emotional response tells you that you're right and they're wrong, that's wrong. And if you can't understand that or accept that and admit it, you have a lot of work to do. I mean, no one wants to admit when we're wrong, but we have to be willing to take responsibility and know that it's okay if we're wrong. If what I thought or what I learned at this point in my life turns out that truth that I thought was true isn't true, it's okay if we didn't have it right, because we're supposed to learn. But the only way we're going to learn is you have to be willing to be a critical thinker and consider the opposition. It came from somewhere. Whatever their viewpoint is, it came from somewhere. It didn't come from fucking garbage land. Like, it came from somewhere, and people care about it, and someone cares about it. So if they care about it and you care about what you're saying, well, then if two people can be willing to remember that my emotional response doesn't make it true, and you can actually have a real conversation of like, here's, like, you can swap books. Like, here's what I read, and this is
you can swap Sims,
right? But it's like, now we're working together to find something even better. We can learn something better together. And the people just don't like doing that. And I think it's because it's uncomfortable. I mean, I don't like it. It's uncomfortable.
I don't like being uncomfortable.
It's like a big issue is like when everything in our life is fairly uncomfortable, we're never going to get anything done.
Nothing is getting done.
No.
Nothing's getting done. Nothing's been solved here.
No. I'm just happy we're not the ones to solve it. I just want to make sure I'm not someone who's adding to the problem. So the best thing I've been trying to do is
just put your
spend time with my nieces and nephews
out there and be like, take it or leave it.
I mean, that's what it is. Like, I think it's so funny, dude. Some of the stuff that I'll look at my hidden messages, but like I get lots of good ones. And there's some that are just absolutely so aggressive and uncalled for, and a lot of assumptions being made that I'm just like,
you just have to say like, you don't get it.
Well, like for me, it's like, that's what I do. It's like, you're not ready. This person's not in a place to hear what I'm saying or be willing to like hear what this news, whatever it is that is saying, and be like, oh, dang, like that could be going on. And either you care to look into it or you don't care to look into it, but you're willing to say it's a possibility. I'm going to make, I took a mental note and I may see it again. I may not. You don't have to be married to something. Like, but you can consider things that you didn't know, versus a very common theme is that whatever we know is what's right. And it's like, well, where did you get that information? If we think about how I have this conversation with Jax, and we can wrap this up soon. Wow. I can't believe
we need to
this long, but I will just say, like, my little nephew, he just turned 7. And during the summer, we taught him how to ride his bike. We're trying to teach him how to ride his bike. Jax is 6 at the time. And he just couldn't do it. It's too hard. Right.
Right.
And me and Lacey are like, Jax,
suck it up.
No, we're literally like, of course it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't know how to ride a bike. And then I had to learn how to ride a bike. Everyone that knows how to ride one, they didn't know how. And then they learned how. And they tried and they practiced and they fell and they practiced. And now they're out riding bikes with all their friends. But you don't just all of a sudden know how to do something. I think
you just don't.
I think
you don't
really
just
like
get it.
At a certain point, probably when you're, I don't know, around the age of maybe 10, maybe younger, we don't, it's like we have this ego, and it could be different depending on where you live or your family or whatever, obviously. Some people it's worse than others. Like, you've met those kids where you're like, you can already picture the parents based on how they act. You know what I'm talking about? Like the real tude, the sass, or like the disrespect in your home. If you have like kids come over to your house to play, they're just breaking shit, whatever it is. Like, you can see it. But it's like at a certain point, I mean, even with my nieces and nephews, it's like they think they're right, right? Like kids do.
Yeah.
You argue with your parents because kids think they're right. And this is obviously just the way of life and things that each individual has to go through, and you learn the things that you were wrong about or whatever that looks like. But we need to remember at a certain point as adults that we are still learning just as kids did. I learned something new by reading a report or looking at this, right? Or going to a class or having a mentor who's like way more successful, way more really well read, studied, all the things. I have them and I learn from them. We learn how to interact with people. We learn how to fold a fitted sheet. I still can't do
hardest
it.
thing ever.
Literally the hardest.
Hold a fucking fitted sheet. No.
Dude, or like I still sweat when I put a fitted sheet on my bed without fail. It is the
You
hardest.
guys know how to fold a fitted sheet?
But like there are these things, and I think that we forget that the reality of what it means to learn. Like we didn't know anything day one, and now up to this point we know what we know. But that doesn't mean that everything we know is true. We know it based on who taught it to us, our school, classes, maybe it was a video you watched, maybe it was a book you read, maybe it was just your own personal experience. But even then, we do know that over time, we may have similar experiences, but we adapt them differently or we handle them differently based on what we've experienced or what we've learned. So we are all learning still to this day.
Still don't know how to fold it.
Exactly. Do not either. So
figuring it out.
Approaching day-to-day life with trying to maybe, I guess my hope to people would be that they just care enough to want to be more self-aware or to like get off their phone more and like be in the moment. And I can't, obviously it's like people have to decide that for themselves. It's like someone going on a diet. It's like, I can help you. You can ask me for help. And I've had this many times where it's like, do this, do this, do this. And it's like, but I can't make the person do the things they're asking me to teach them how to do, right? They have to want to do it. So if anything else, just even like I was speaking just for kids, because that's what I think that what makes me care about so many issues way more than anything else is the little ones, just like for you and your kids. And now you got a most beautiful grandbaby ever.
I know, it's just the cutest thing ever.
It's like, if you care about them, then do it for them.
Yeah. Make an effort.
Make an effort to put your phone away. Make an effort to have conversation with them. Make an effort to take them to the park or go outside. Or if you like doing stuff that's interactive, like, dude, we did ads for them, but like all the different like things you can buy that's like a science experiment and you do it with the kids and they learn how to, like, there are like these a project things, and everything that I'm understanding about how to help your kids more, it's for parents and for family to be a part of their life. And when kids start going to school full time, it makes it extremely difficult. And I also know that depending on what kind of home situation you have or where you live, and now for almost everybody, unless you're in like the 1%, you're working, right? Like, how do you survive? Like, well, I want to be there, but I also need to put food on the table. So we have to like pick the, like, triage all things.
It's a parent triage.
Yes. Parenting triage 101.
Parenting triage.
So I feel like, all things considered, because I'm the kind of person, when you have a lot of things that you should do and that are affecting, and it can become, for me, it's like
overwhelming.
Yes, but it also is like where it paralysis by analysis. Sorry, it took me so long to get those words out. Could not find paralysis. I was like, freeze. Still. So bringing it back to just care enough to try and make an effort every day with yourself, right? We check in with yourself to be like, am I being more self-aware? Am I, like, when you are scrolling your phone, it's like every time if you just have a moment where you're scrolling your phone and there's a moment where you think, like you almost like come to
Like,
and
oh
like,
shit, I've been on
damn,
here
I've been
too
on
long.
here a long time.
Yeah.
That little thought that you had to yourself that was checking you, they will become more common, and it'll become a lot easier to be more aware and with your kids and like doing
be more present.
and be more present.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that obviously would be the best place to start, because then hopefully what happens is if you care about that, then you care about spending quality time with your kids, and then who you are is going to trickle into their life, and then it's not telling someone to do this. It is leading by example, but you get to start with kids that are much younger, and you don't need to rewrite their code, right? You don't need to change, make them be better. It's like, no, we're just going to be better together.
Yeah. You can't go back and like fix it all.
No.
You got to start.
They're going to have to do.
Yeah.
If they, and that's just hoping, and that's just if they get to a point where like they care enough to do that for themselves the same way you're doing it right now, which it's not necessarily fun to like go on a journey.
Who said parenting was fun?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's, it's like
not fun.
But man,
it's rewarding, but it's not fun all the time.
Man, is it really such a wonderful thing? Like just, I don't know.
It's a good thing.
Family's really important. Really important.
It is.
And more people need to, and I might be, it's like, just because you're doing it, Brooke, doesn't mean everyone else has to, but I just feel like we would all be better off if everyone just tried to be a little bit less self-centered, and we live in a time where we naturally, how things are and what's cool, it puts a lot of our focus on ourselves. It does. And so that's why, again, it's like, well, if we just start trying to be more self-aware, we can probably combat a lot of those things a little bit easier versus trying to stop doing that. It's like, well, if I went to someone and told them like, you should be less self-centered. It's like, well, in this day and age, they'd be like, they'd cancel me. Because,
you are canceled.
Right? It's like they'd cancel me because I basically told them to be better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if more people are in a situation mentally, mental state where they can, in a place where you can take criticism from yourself, like a harsh reality, and be okay with that view maybe not being what you really want ultimately, like when you sit down and think about it. Because I don't know about everybody else, but I've always been someone where when people ask me like my 5-year plan or my 10-year plan, I never had one. I get too overwhelmed by trying to plan too far in advance. I'm more of a big picture person, and then I do my best to navigate that. But everything is also trying to have a vision and a big picture, but not worry about the details, because I can get so lost and consumed by details that it becomes very overwhelming and I get very anxious, and it's like I have found ways that I can try and combat my anxiety, or like things that will end up keeping me from pursuing something or trying something or helping someone, whatever it is. So I think that if we all just, and I say we all, I feel like, every one of our listeners, there's so many of you. If we do this together, we could have a little ripple effect. And it's just a matter of being self-aware, and in moments at like a checkout line, getting off your phone, talking to the person who's checking you out. I started doing that a long time ago. I don't remember where I'd heard it, but I had some sort of experience that made me aware of that. And now anytime, unless I'm like really like whatever it is, like emergency or something like that. But if I am like going to come to DMV, I hate that place, but the DMV, what better way than to like, the DMV sucks.
Just be nice to the DMV guy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, if you can go at the checkout line and, you look up at the person who's checking you out, how many people I for sure don't even really look up because you don't have to. It's like you go down, they check your shit. You're like this. And then it's like, all right, card, how much is it? Look up and put the card in and do the thing. Or you need a receipt. You're like, nope, bye. Like we can completely avoid any people. Sort of, yes. So little things like that. It's just making yourself a person and you recognizing that in the moment. Really.
So the lesson of today is just be a person.
Everyone's like, the lesson of today is Brooke needs to go to sleep.
I know. I know. I have company. We got to go.
All right.
But yeah, we're going to wrap this up. But yeah, hey, so you know what? If there's anything that you could take from today, it's just be a person.
Hey guys, be a person.
Go get the door. Go get the door, slaves. Okay. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to
rate, review, subscribe, 5-star rating.
5-star rating, 5-star warning. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah. And don't worry, Devin will be back next week. I know you guys are all like, where's Devin?
I know. We miss her. All right. Bye, guys.